You know, we saw Gale the other night being destructive, but Afridi can just be equally so. And I think Pakistan's batting lineup is pretty strong, and he'll come, you know, mid-order, probably 5 or 6. And even if you get a few early wickets, knowing that he's coming in, that can be really daunting for a bowling attack to think, you know, this guy can take a game away from you.
Dhoni had that injury with the thumb. We'll keep an eye on that as well, because he needs to play all of the games for India.
Yeah, they don't have another keeper, I don't think, in the squad. He seemed to suggest in the post-match interview he'd be all right. He got one on the end of the thumb, but we don't know what it's like, but we assume it's not fractured or anything, and he'll be fine. Well,
let's get a word from the India camp, because obviously they lost that game to New Zealand, but Ravi Shastri says they're over it now.
That's a hiccup which you got to forget. You know, we've had 2 days, the penny has dropped, we've drunk a lot of water. They say the hiccup goes after that. But you've got to think positively, and you've got to take one game at a time. Pakistan is always an important game, but like I said, every game in this tournament is going to be important. But to notch up a win early on would be great. This is why you play sport. When you've got the biggest crowds there, then, you know, step up to the plate and show how good you are.
Got rid of his hiccups, that's good to know. They got a win though, and the manner of the defeat the other day must be a concern.
Yes, I mean, we've seen kind of 2 different tournaments so far. We've seen like the games that England have been involved in down in Mumbai, where there's been a lot of dew, quite a bit of pace on the pitch, lots of pace bowlers that we saw, you know, in that England-South Africa game the other night. And then the cricket that we saw in Nagpur when India played New Zealand in their opening match, where they dragged really. How badly India coped with the conditions, how badly they adjusted to the conditions. You wouldn't expect them to play so badly again. We're going to Kolkata now, and we've seen a bit of cricket in Kolkata. And you'd say that perhaps more typical, it's holding a bit for the spinners and the seamers with their slow balls, but not quite perhaps to the extent that we saw in Nagpur. So it may be a slightly better surface for India's batsmen to show their true worth.
Got to be flexible and adaptable, and the side that's probably playing the best cricket at the moment is New Zealand, who have been just that, not just in their selection, their tactics, but the way they've worked it out during a game.
Definitely, yeah. You've got to adjust the conditions, whether it's the pace of the and we've seen, you know, teams that have won have done that quicker. New Zealand did it the other night brilliantly against India, and it's going to be interesting to see if Rob Key's right and it's going to turn square, because if it does, I think Pakistan will be, you know, they'll be quite confident about playing against India in those conditions.
Well, given the way India batted the other day?
I think so, yeah. It's going to put them under pressure, and, you know, we saw with the New Zealand, brought them more into the game pitch, and it's going to do the same for Pakistan.
It was quite bizarre to work it out the other day, the Indian batsmen.
Hard to explain, really. You know, Indian batsmen are breastfed on spin, really, from knee-high upwards. That's what they do. But the point that we made in that game stands, that, you know, recalling England's Test win there in Mumbai, ranked turner, the opposition spinners into the game as well. Well, we'll see what happens here. It looked very bare from that brief view we've had of the pitch. I'd be surprised if it turns as much as Nagpur. Well, if it does turn, Jadeja will be a key man for India. He's speaking now with Sean Pollock.
Ravinder, big game. Give us a bit of insight into India versus Pakistan from your perspective.
Yeah, I think, well, India versus Pakistan always going to be a big clash. You know, everybody is looking forward for that. So I think, yeah, we have a good positive energy around in the dressing room, and as well as in the practice. So I think, yeah, everybody is looking positive, and yeah, we'll look forward to the game.
You do need a result. Does that put extra pressure on you, having lost the first game? Do you guys feel it a bit, or are you just concentrating on doing what you normally do?
Yeah, I think, as we all discussed in the meeting, that we are not looking, you know, thinking about the previous game. We look forward for the